everything this year has been like
No,
I had to, these are the first years for either of these gardens. So like I had to make completely new gardens like this winter. And so we had to just, because like last year I had my garden in a different pasture and it just got flooded, too wet. So I decided to go on the slope and go to some more drier places. So it's like everything has just been thrown up like the day, like I got these plants in like so late. Everything's been like a week or two later than I wanted it to be. But we've got it all planted in time and it's doing pretty good. We've got like, we're just experimenting with cut flowers this year. They're super easy to grow. And you can see they're quite numerous and we're just, it's like I'm not gonna sell hardly any of these. We're selling $5 bouquets at the market and we sold maybe 10 bouquets. And then I've got some friends of mine going around to restaurants. So like I'm finding friends of mine that work in the service industry, that work at restaurants, to like go around with bouquets and give them to people for free to see if restaurants want to like buy a weekly order of flowers. We're totally just experimenting with marketing these.
Whole Foods?
No, we're just trying like kind of local places for now, not really doing chain stuff because we're not really professional. Like there's the other vendors on the farmers market have flower bouquets and they're professional bouquets. They're great. Yeah. We're just starting out, so we're just doing our little bouquets and trying to find little cafes or little places that are like, yeah, we'll buy 10 or 15 or $20 worth a week or something, just trying to sell them because we have to come out here and deadhead them or else they'll stop producing.
What about Walmart? That's chain, of course.
Yeah, I know we haven't started that. I'm just having girls market these for me, like because it's like flat. It's doing a lot better than what I would do personally. Like I don't know. I'm having like my wife and her friends and stuff. They're helping us market to people. Because it's easy if somebody that works in restaurants goes around to restaurants, because she already knows, like Sarah already knows a lot of these people and knows the chefs and stuff, so it's a lot easier to sell with people when you're already on sort of a first name basis. But these are 80-foot rows. Deer. It's for deer. And like I said, I just threw it up. Like I'm gonna take this, yeah, we're expanding. This is just like I threw it up as fast as I could get it up. What's that?
Has it been effective?
You don't have to grow very many. Yeah. Really.
What was your criteria for picking which flowers you were going to grow?
So there's a woman who runs a flower farm called Floret Farm, and she's probably like the best or one of the biggest sources of information for like flower farming, and we have her book. But basically it's just like the simplest, easiest to grow flowers to start with, which is what we did.
Okay.
And like so it's like Cosmo, Calendula, Marigold, and these zinnias, the Queen Lime series zinnias.
Okay.
They're just known for being really easy to grow.
Easy to grow.
Yeah, and just like common, and so like and then the other kind of flowers you grow are like fall bulbs. So this fall we'll plant dahlias and all kinds of other ones. And so the professional people right now are selling their fall bulbs that have sprouted early spring, and those are like snapdragons, huge flowers. They look professional and awesome.
Okay.
So next year we'll be able to add some of those to our mix. And then I've been doing nasturtiums as like an edible flower, but they got away from me. People weren't really buying them as much, and they just got away from me, so I didn't do them this week.
They're a little harder to manage, right, than some of these longer stemmed ones?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just like making bouquets.
I was harvesting flowers 3 times a day. I would come out here for like 5 minutes and harvest $5 worth, which is like one package. And so I'd harvest $15 a day, and I did that all last week and sold. But I was so busy last week I didn't get a chance to harvest them. But
okay.
So yeah, I mean, you've got to do a lot of research on like what people are buying, what people want to buy, what other people are selling, and like what people are buying at whether it's a farmer's market or whether you're talking to restaurants. Like talk to if you know any chefs, you know anyone who works at a restaurant, you just got to talk to them. Like, what are you guys buying? What do you like to buy local? Or like find out like what do you never buy local, because the distributor always gives you things like you like or whatever. But a lot of businesses.
Assuming that they know what to buy. What about just telling them what you have?
That's another thing is like I grow different varieties of stuff. Like I grow white cucumbers and red okra and all. At the farmer's market, people walk over to my booth and they're like, "What is this?" Like they've never seen the cucumbers, and I sell a lot just based off that, because everyone else has got their regular stuff, and I sell white cucumbers, all kinds of stuff, lemon cucumbers, lemon squash, like. I sell like vegetables that look like other vegetables. Atomic grape tomatoes are really popular. Just stuff like that, and I get that from seed catalogs. You can do a lot of research in seed catalogs, and in their descriptions they'll tell you like chefs love these or whatever. Like, you know, like
probably a lot of people don't know that these are available and that they're edible. You know, these nasturtiums, did you say?
Yeah, nasturtiums. Yeah, like there's only a handful of other produce vendors out in the Tulsa farmers market, so there's not a lot of competition, really, and it's not competitive. Like all the other produce vendors bring a lot more to market, and they sell out. They're like, they do so well, and like I saw that my first year, the farmers market. I was like, I knew I could do it because like I was bringing like $400 worth of stuff to the market or something, right? And like I was really happy if I could sell $500 worth of stuff. And these other farms, I'm watching them sell $2,000 at least. And like I was like, I could do this. My first year I did it, I saw like 3 Springs Farm, and from 7 to 11, they were just constantly selling stuff busy. Just had all this stuff. And like I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna do this. Like there's so much, people are so willing to buy stuff, and I just knew by how well the other farms were doing that I was gonna do well too, because there weren't that many farms. And especially when you start offering people things that other people don't.
Yeah.
And you start to figure that out as you go.
Well, if James's class is successful, maybe we'll have more farmers then. I mean, that might not be good for you, but
it's amazing, yeah, what you're doing, because it's hard to start doing this land, all that kind of stuff, and like you're making it to where just regular people without the resources already can get into farming, and that's just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
To help people do, and like, cause like it's like
it's challenging enough, and they'll still have challenges, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know.
Still gotta grow the damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, growing it, dealing with the weather, dealing with bugs in the weather, and then once you grow it, selling it is the whole. You're like, oh, this is awesome. Where am I gonna sell all this crap now? You know, like in the farmers markets is my best advice. Like, get in a farmers market.
Really.
That's where you're gonna sell the most. That's where you're gonna meet the caterers and the chefs that are gonna buy stuff. That's where you're gonna meet your. Yeah, it's like
marketing, just having a booth there.
It's the best thing you could do, in my opinion, starting from scratch. You get into farmers market, and it's like if you can't get into the Tulsa one, there's Broken Arrow, there's other places you can go, and like to me, it's a lot of work to go there, wake up at 4 in the morning and go set up, but it's just like your brand's gonna get out there, people are gonna remember you, and you're gonna meet your other customers, because really selling in higher volumes to businesses is the best. I'd like to not have to wake up at 4. This year I'm starting to sell in higher volumes to businesses every week, and that's really good. And I met all those customers being at a farmer's market, just learning how to sell basically. So now I'm selling to like grassroots, and there's a juicing company in Bartlesville called Bartlesville Juice Company, and like I still remember where I was on the farm when I got their message, like, hey, we're a juicer and we're looking for local produce and stuff, because I was just like stressing on where am I going to sell all this stuff. And a juicing business will go through tons of stuff, and it doesn't matter if it's blemished or whatever. And so like they're one of my best customers. I mean, they were buying $200 worth of stuff from me in the week in the spring. Grassroots was buying $150, so that's already $350 a week just delivering those bulk. And they came to the farmers market and picked it up from me. I didn't even have to deliver to them.
Wow.
And so I gave them a better price. I gave them a slightly better, better price, because I didn't even have to deliver it. And so that's just the best when I'm selling my farmers market stuff, and then I know I've got $300 in stuff that I got a caterer coming, I've got a grassroots coming to pick them up. It's great. So that's the ideal for me, is like doing those deliveries and not having to deliver them, and still being able to do the farmers market. And so it's like at the farmers market you get the maximum price for your stuff, but at the selling to local businesses, and once you can do that every week, that's your security, you know, because like you're gonna make those sales every week. So that's just the best. Yeah, I remember the exact spot I was standing in the farm when I pulled out, and I was just like, oh my god, all the stuff I have I can sell now. They're like, we'll take whatever you have. Yes.
How difficult is it to get into the Tulsa farmers market?
It's not very difficult. You just apply, and based on what you're selling, they don't have a lot of produce farmers. So like there'll be more produce farmers. They only take so many like craft vendors, so many this or that. But like I'm just sitting here, I could count them on one hand. 3 Springs, Tria Yang, Vincent. Those are the biggest. Those are the 3 biggest ones. Then I'm next, and then you've got sort of home gardener people, you know, that are a smaller size. And I'm just like, I'm in between the home gardener and the big farm. Like 3 Springs, they farm 5 acres, and have their own CSA, and they've been doing it for like decades, and they're a professional. They're great, and they're like.
Are they?
Yeah.
Do they use fertilizer? I mean,
They do. They're
not
certified
fertilizer,
organic.
Certified
They're
organic.
the best growers.
What if-
They're the best growers around. It's like
They're great.
Them and Joe.
Yeah,
different.
Joe's farm too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe's farm. He's not on the farmers
No.
market. They don't allow people who grow hydroponically on the farmers market
Really.
because they want soil. They want because they would just they can outcompete everybody.
Right.
Right. It's so like price wise especially. So yeah, if you're a farm, you can apply the Tulsa farmers market. They'll take you. They want more.
What
Then
when you say you're in between like a 5 acre, what are you farming this season?
A half acre.
1/2.
This is about a 1/4 acre, and that's about a 1/4 acre, and I've got little bits, so it's about half acre in total. And then next year, I'll probably be 3/4 of an acre, something like that.
And you're always just trying to kind of wed how much you have to what your capacity is and what the market is. Like that's where you're finding a sweet spot, right?
Yeah, so I brought back a couple pounds of cucumbers, like tomatoes. I can't grow enough tomatoes to sell. I need to grow more tomatoes and a little bit less cucumbers. But I'm going to sell all my cucumbers to the Bartlesville Juice Company now. That's the thing is like when you can take all your stuff to the farmer's market, sell it for the highest price you can get, and then on Monday sell everything left over to your businesses that are going to use it in the next couple of days. It's just like the best way to do it in my opinion, for me at least. And so, but really like what you could do, like I'm growing a diverse amount of stuff, trying to see what sells. But like I know some people who get into farming and it's like all they grow are like peppers and tomatoes and one other thing, and they sell them in really high volumes to like one person. They're like there's somebody I know, and all he does is like grow lettuce for like a school system for the school, and like that, and that's like he makes as much off that as I do off all of this. And for him, it's like a lot. It's like that's good. Fits his context until the schools close for COVID, and then he's like, well, what do I do? And people have to say, well, it's time for you to like market it yourself, start your website or whatever. It's like farmers have had to do that a lot this year, is like adjust our marketing. But it's like all about context and what you're trying to do. I'm trying to commercially farm and make a living farming full time and provide as much food for like the local community and grow stuff that like I want to eat too, nothing like I don't really. So like but like it just depends on what your context is. Like if you're an urban farm and you have a shorter space, you could grow only tomatoes and make more money than if you were trying to grow all this other stuff. It's like
Right. You
like,
wouldn't have enough of any one thing.
yeah, like I know one farm is all he does is grow salt. He grows peppers and cilantro and parsley and tomatoes. He only grows stuff that you can make salsa out of. You know, he's in like the Southwest or sort of on the border there, and so that just works for him. He doesn't grow salad greens or root crops, and he just grows this stuff because he's found the proper buyers that'll buy from him every week, and he can deliver. And he's figured out, like in my climate, I can just grow peppers all year and not have to worry about stuff. So it's like there's something like carrots. I haven't grown carrots this year yet, and they're really not that hard to grow, but they're harder for me to grow than anything else. And so like sometimes I'll seed a bed of carrots, and a month will go by, and it'll be like crap. I'm just going to seed something else, and I didn't want to waste any space. So I've still got to get better as a grower and have more space to burn too, because I wanted to maximize my stuff. So like today I saw the farms on the farmer's market had carrots left over after the market. I don't even have any, but when I do, they sell out. But so it's all just like finding a context for what you're trying to do. Are you trying to make a part-time living? Are you trying to do full-time? Are you trying to solely just do things for other people with your spare time farming? You know, like, and that all matters on like what you choose to grow and where you choose to sell to and all that kind of thing.
So you'd say goal setting is probably like one of the first steps, kind of.
Yeah, like what do you want to do? Are you trying to be a full-time farmer? Yeah, you want to feel like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do with your farm? Like, how much do you want to make? How much of your income do you want your farm to be? All of these things you take into consideration, you know, when growing. Like, yeah, so. And a lot of it with me is just inexperience, just planting stuff and seeing what sells, seeing what doesn't. But mostly I've got such a brand now where pretty much everything I have sells. And anything I have left over I can sell off to other people, other businesses that I know. So will produce more money, but it's like I obviously want to have peppers up. I sell a lot of peppers, so it's like you've got to kind of take all that into consideration. We're doing the same thing with flowers. Like this year, these flower beds aren't going to make us that much money, but it's more about establishing a customer base. And so next year, you know, we'll know what to plant more, and we'll be more more efficient about like how much money the flowers are making us, because you want to keep track of all of that and how much each crop is making you and how much you're selling, because when you go over this in your notes, you'll be like, this crop isn't making me anything and it's wasting my time, and you'll just get rid of it, you know, like I said with the watermelons and things like that, winter squash. Like, I love butternut squash, but I'll never grow it because it takes 3 months. Squash bugs are gonna kill it, or the wind's gonna kill it, you know. And then when I get it, everyone else has got their squash too, so it's like you won't buy my winter squash over someone else's because it's the same. It's like a potato or something. But like my salad mix, my tomatoes are like better than other ones. You can see it. People can tell it. They tell me that. So I don't actually like tomatoes or eat them unless they're sun dried. So when people ask me, what do these taste like? I'm just telling them what Katie told me they taste like to her. But it works. So like starting in March, like in just any one of my garden beds, starting in like March, I'll plant arugula, and then 2 months after that, and I planted tomatoes, and then at the end of the season, the tomatoes come out, and then lettuce goes in. And so like I'll get 3 crops out of one bed per year, and each of those crops produces a lot. So like you have a 30-inch bed, and if it's like these are 100-foot long, so one bed will make $2,000 a year if I plant 3 to 4 crops. And so you have it. So in my head, like I know monetarily what's going to happen. I know if I plant a 50-foot bed of lettuce, I know how much lettuce is going to give me 40 pounds, and I know how much money per pound I sell it for. So I know when I'm seeding the bed, I'm going to get $400 out of this bed in 40 days. Because it's cut and come again, you can keep doing it. So like you're able to plan really well, and that's only through the experience of like doing it.
Right.
And I got a lot of that from Curtis Stone when I was first starting out, because I'm using this model of farming that lots of people do. J.M. Fortier has a book called The Market Gardener, and that's pretty much the #1 like book for this. It's like Elliot Coleman's the old guy in Maine who works with Johnny Seed. It's like a model of farming, and it's like you're following directions. It's like standardized, 30 inches, 50 foot. The tools are made to fit this scale of farming. It's all like Johnny Seed, it's all made for it. So it's like you're able to do all these calculations on like what I'm going to make, and you can project like I'm going to plant a 50-foot bed of arugula. I know about how many pounds I'm going to get, so I can go ahead and start selling it 2 weeks ahead of time. I can start saying, hey, I'm going to have 20 pounds ready at this time because I know that that's coming in. And you can find that information from those other people, J.M. Fortier's book and like Curtis Stone, his old videos where he did farming. He does a lot of that, so it's where you kind of have an idea in your head of what to plant and how much you're going to make. And yeah, so it's really important to grow at least 2 crops a year, but you should be able to do 3 in Oklahoma because our growing season's so long.
How did your yield projections that you read about, like in the Market Gardening book, compare to what you actually got? Being in a different climate, you know?
Mine are slightly less because I'm not adding as much compost and fertilizer as they are.
Okay.
Because I don't have the money yet. I'm kind of just like farming my soil, and I added fertilizer this year for the first time ever. I bought bulk from Grogs, and I added fertilizer.
Fish emulsion, or?
No, it was back to earth, granular, just like all-purpose mix.
Okay.
And I like kelp and fish emulsion and stuff, liquid, but I use that. I don't really use that stuff, but for greenhouse stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, so Mike, you know, I'm as far as salad greens go, yeah, I'm getting as much as the pros are getting in their 50-foot bed, because those are low feeder, and it's like I've got salad greens down. I've been doing it for 3 years, and so it's like I've got them down really well. And you'll find what you like to grow, what you think you're good at, or really what people are buying. You can't grow enough tomatoes. You know, like I sold $200 in tomatoes in an hour and a half. I would have sold $300 more in tomatoes if I had them. You know what I mean? It's like this is only my 2nd week of having tomatoes too, so I'll have that in the future. And next year I'll have double. Yeah, it's like I'm just starting small and just like as I go, because I'm learning from my mistakes. I'm kind of like shooting from the hip, they say sometimes. But anyway, I'm doing better. So I would do as much like reading and especially going to farms and working on farms as possible before you start your own, so you already know what to expect. You know, like you can call me and say, hey, I'm planting a 50-foot row of this crop. How much do you think I'm going to get? And I'll tell you. Like if you're growing arugula or kale or spinach, you know, you'll get 30 pounds in 30 days. Then you'll get 15 pounds in 10 more days. And then you'll get 10 more pounds in another week, you know.
You know, one thing I liked about the produce you gave me is that it was dry, and it was like it had been, you used your salad spinner or something.
Right, yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff you get in the store is all clumped together, and it's all, half of it is dark and wet, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm getting ready to cover this with a tarp. And I'll cover it with a tarp. These beets are, when I harvest these beets, I'll cover all this with a tarp, and then in 2 months, I'll take it off, and it'll be completely bare and ready to plant the next crop. No weeding.
Yeah.
And all this stuff breaks down, and I'm not going to till it either. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to broad fork it, and then seed it. And that's why I love the tarps, because when you use the tarps in the landscape fabric, you don't have to till anymore for a lot of crops.
Right.
Because the main reason I have to till is for cultivation. Shit. Just over a month ago, and they were smaller.
Didn't want to come today.
I don't know. They're all mixed up, and I'll know when I harvest. I'll know like one of them's GMO cookies, one of them is wedding cake. You know, just like bag seeds pretty much. But these are Northern Lights autoflowers. Autoflowers are my favorite because they don't have to have 12 hours of darkness.
Right.
You know, because they'll get messed. Like I've messed
60,
plants up.
Is it 60, 70 days? 70 days, please?
It's 3 months.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
90
12.
days.
I had a sativa, and it was exactly 12 weeks to harvest, and these are taking a little longer. But I just love the autoflowers are smaller, but they just like, yeah, just that whole. I don't have a room to devote to like 12 hours of
You have
darkness
to change
and
your
stuff.
light.
So this is Madden's orchard. He's got an assortment of pears and plums, and then he is alley cropping annual crops down the middle. So he's got some okra, some sunflowers, some cucumbers, some peppers, some tomatoes, and then he'll be doing fall bulbs for cut flower production in the fall after he turns over these warm season crops and goes for the next succession.
I work full-time for Global Gardens. I really wanted to grow more and think more like a farmer, and so what that looked like for me this year was just to establish three blocks where I could grow as much food and try to hopefully create something that was scalable, and just kind of learn some lessons about how to turn ground into cultivatable space. And so I'm going to take that and really just learn. I learned a lot this year, and still we're halfway through the year. And so I'm going to, like, my plan is to be planting fall crops at John 316 at this season. And then based on how that goes, I mean, it's off-site, so right now it's my best spot to grow for the least amount of money and the least amount of energy. And so I'm gonna see how the fall growing season goes, I'm gonna have to drive out there. And it's not the same as walking out your front door. So what I grow is gonna be a little bit different, and how things grow this fall will also drive what I'm gonna do in the spring. I don't want to sell at the farmer's market and have a full-time job, and so I'm really focusing on low maintenance crops. I am gonna try to put my fall crops in, get them up, cultivate them a couple times, and just let them stay in the field. I'm gonna do 100 bed foot of garlic, so that'll still be in, and I'm gonna look into a grant for new farmers, and that will completely change what I do in 2021. If I get those, if I have access, if I like growing at John 316 this fall. I'm trying to find land. I'm living in a house, and so my whole plan for next year will change based on like what I think is most likely for the next season. But I know what I do know is a larger portion of my energy is going to go towards farming practices, and with the hopes that in 5 years I can be doing it full time. I don't know what year 2 exactly looks like because I'm only halfway through the first year. But next year I want a larger portion of my time to be towards growing food, and you can't learn it just by reading. You have to just get out there and take that leap. But because of where I'm at, I'm trying to kind of make some half measures and some intermediary steps where I can kind of take measured steps and risk. So after seeing this and hearing, I really come away with fencing solutions that help me understand to see different solutions to problems. So from fencing to trellising, which I love how much, like we try to make things like you have to buy high dollar stuff. I love that this less than $100 setup right here can be enough to run a very sustainable, or to like propagate what you need. And I also just love how, like, hearing a lot of the same themes of just like you try something and then you adjust next year. And I feel like that's what we all do, but it also helps see like that's a necessary characteristic of a successful farmer. So I come away with this with a lot, just tons and tons of things to reflect on, and really getting a sense of like what are some of those larger capital investments? Like how do you spend your first $10,000?
Right.
You know,
If you already have land.
if you have all these other things.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not positive, but I got a lot better idea. And so yeah, I really appreciate your time and the tour, and it's fun seeing you because we met. I bought some turnips with you with my boy, and now just seeing and hearing a little bit more of your backstory has been really helpful. So.
What's up? Still here? Is he asleep?
He's in the front yard playing.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like since you're sort of starting small too, it will be easier for you to try to market what you are growing, because it's just like I'm growing this, and you might be able to find, one person. You can go around to businesses or whatever and try to sell what you are growing. Because if you're growing less stuff, you can maybe grow a higher, or like, a couple, just only 2 or 3 or 4, however many varieties of crops you're doing. You can probably start doing like the beginning stages of trying to sell it, or just find people that might be interested. You could always ask like what kind of things are you interested in buying locally? Do you have to have them every week, or are you willing to buy from a local farm, all that kind of stuff? And since you're like a smaller scale, it's easier to work with. You're not like, I've got this huge list of stuff I gotta sell or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it'd be, because really you just gotta find one business, one person, and say, okay, I'll buy this, and then then you're rolling, And it just you just really pick up on it quick how to do that stuff. Right?
So it sounds to me like education is one of the hurdles. Like you want to feel more confident in your skill set before you scale up.
I mean, it's really a time thing.
Okay, time's a big hurdle.
My income is the only stable income for our household, and so it makes you nervous. But being in this class and now knowing that might not be the land I farm forever, but that gets me over the barrier that I need to just say, hey, like I'm gonna farm next year.
What land is this?
I think you've got
the idea of maybe being able to farm at John 360.
Yes, yeah. I didn't know if you were talking about your yard or.
No, it's a good place to cut your teeth.
Yeah.
I built it that wide because originally I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy one 50-footer and split it into 2, and I still might do that, because I don't know, but hearing your story, hearing that arc, and then seeing like what of those barriers do I have to try to overcome, and then what of those are part of this class are met. I feel like we should just get out there and get going. Like we have the knowledge. We're not gonna get right. If you wait till you know everything, have everything lined up, you'll never start.
You've got the right attitude about it because I think you are secure because you've got your job and you don't have to worry about farming supplying your money. Like you're able to just learn what you can, scale up as you go, without the stress of like I've got stress, like I've got bills and stuff to pay. Like last year, I was really stressed last year. It was not a good year because of the flooding, and I was just barely making enough just to pay bills and not save anything and stuff. But it's like, you know, what you're doing with your job and then figuring out what you even want to grow and how you're installing stuff, and then scaling it up as you go, as you can with your time. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah, because also like my wife loves horses, and I love cows, and I'm right now we're looking at land and saying, well, do I really just want to farm veggies? I really like the integrated. I've always been drawn to diversified farming, and that was the first farm I worked on, and I was like, but you don't have, like, that's the beauty of seeing other operations and hearing examples. What would that look like? How much land do you need to have a small herd? How would you integrate? What would that look like? It's just neat to see people that are moving stuff around, like thinking short-term, long-term orchard management.
Responding to the feedback that nature gives you, land and stuff. Yeah. I've learned a lot about the land, like before I bought, like as I've been farming. You know, like, oh, I shouldn't have started a garden in that pasture. Like I've learned that the hard way. But yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good to not learn things the hard way. Like I've done. I just went all into it. But yeah, it sounds like a good plan.
Can I ask you a question? I missed part of it, but what was the reasons why one part of the land is different?
Good question. So let's hear from somebody else on perceived goals, perceived challenges. What do you want to get out of farming?
Is there anyone that wants to, like, commercially farm, like full time? Like I know you said you want to eventually get there, right? Like is it more like homesteading and you're farming, or is it like commercial farm? Because we're kind of doing both. Like I'm never going to sell eggs commercially. We homestead eggs.
It's homestead eggs. It's mostly provide most of the food I need for my family.
Right. Yeah.
And I want to provide as much for my family, my certain neighbors and stuff as I can. And I'd also like to sell some to restaurants, find a couple of businesses.
You'll find out what you like to grow,
yes.
and what sells, and you could homestead and commercially sell tomatoes and make a really good living off of
I don't like. I mean,
or whatever. You know?
Yeah, it's like I kind of am reluctantly like investing in learning how to grow tomatoes because they yield so much.
Yeah.
But I don't actually like tomatoes. I'm like
Right.
you. A lot of the people says like I've never heard anyone say that.
What does everyone else want to do? Like, why are you guys in his course? Like,
I'd
you want
eventually like to do it eventually.
you want to like run your own farm?
Yeah,
and
like
stuff?
a 5 or 10 year plan.
Yeah.
I'm like really risk averse, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I have a steady job. And it's
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, piece by piece, you can kind of piece it together and stuff like that. Yeah.
What do you think that looks like, Shandy? Because you do work full time.
Yep, I work full time.
How are you gonna start?
I have a backyard. It's a medium-sized backyard. I would probably start with 4 or 5 friends who really love me and would not care if I screwed up a CSA for them
Right.
in
Yeah.
my backyard.
That's
so
a
I
good
could just
approach.
Good idea,
Yeah.
do
Neighborhood
my whole
boxes.
backyard and maybe grow 2 to 4 things at first and really learn how to grow those things well. Like maybe 2 or 4 each season and go from there. Maybe what these 4 or 5 friends want, and say, hey, I know you need to support me, or I'd like you to support me, but I could potentially really screw this up. So that's why it's important that they're my friends or family.
I do the same thing when I talk to people. Even now when if I talk to a new customer or like a client that wants to buy, I say, hey, listen, I might not be able to give this to you every week, or it's like I might be able to give this to you for 3 weeks and I don't have any more. Like, you gotta understand. Like I tell people, like, you gotta understand. Like, I'm a small farm and things change. You gotta be able to work with me. I can't just be there every week like your produce distributor or whatever. And like I get an understanding with that. You know, it's like, yeah, if you're transparent and open about that from the beginning, people are usually, and you'll find some people are more willing than others. Like chefs and stuff are probably just like, okay, some people don't have time. I tried to sell a Stone Horse Market. They don't have time for me. I'm too small time for them still. And so it's like, fine, I sell to other people. And so you'll find, neighbors or whoever that'll be willing to help you. It's great for kids too. If you've got neighbors with kids and stuff, and stuff, it's just a great environment, family environment for that. So it's a great idea starting in your backyard. I told you So like the 30-inch bed by 50 foot long, one of those beds could make like 1,000 to 1,200 a year if you grow like 2 or 3 crops. You'll grow in the spring, you'll grow in the summer, and you'll grow in the fall. You could make $1,000 off one of those beds. So you can calculate how many of those beds can I fit in my backyard. You know, if you can get 10 of those beds, you could say like when I'm at my full potential, I could be making $10,000–$12,000 a year off of these 10 beds. You know, and you can sort of get in your head of like, yeah, like what would that look like? Well, what are people buying or whatever? You know, and you can kind of say like, well, what am I going to grow in the spring, summer, and fall, and sort of plan it. And once you have that kind of like monetary, like I don't know, once you kind of understand what you can make off each bed, it'll help you, plan and sell more. And really, like you can make a lot off a little bit of space in your backyard, especially as a side income. Like that's the best. I would always recommend doing it as a side business. And like till you're good, like I'm not good enough to be doing it as a full-time business. I'm like, I think I have confidence enough to make it go. I think by next year I will be doing a lot better. But like I've got, okay, we've got 2 incomes and stuff like that. So we're doing it. But yeah, it's better. What you guys are doing is better than just like going for it. So,
Takes a little longer.
It does. Well, I don't know. It's just like when you start doing it, you'll get better results faster. You'll start off getting good results, and you won't have like a year like I had last year or whatever. So yeah.
Well, some people like to walk and never
Right.
pursue.
Yeah. You gotta find a balance. Everything's about balancing it. Yeah. About taking enough risk and not putting yourself out there and not getting burned out. Like I work really hard here. Like I can tell like I'm taking a day. Like I'm not going outside today or whatever. It's like I gotta like balance it so I don't get burned out. So.
Ty, what are some of your challenges or goals for that matter?
So we live in a house in Broken Arrow, so we have little space, probably 40 feet by, I think it's like 100 feet, maybe 90 feet, give or take. And what I want to do, I'm medically retired military, so I have nothing but time. We have 8 kids total together, so that.
You need to start a farm.
Yeah.
Wish I had 8 kids out here.
And that's what I grew up with. I grew up on a 40-acre farm.
Really?
It's trying to buy 1,500 acres, so that's something that I want to get back to. And my wife, she's never been that type of person. She's go to the grocery store type of person, and I'm trying to get her to lean the other way, which has been kind of difficult. But my goal is to grow, but to be able to grow for people who kind of like how John 3:16 does, something that can help people who are less fortunate families, people who are trying to get back on their feet, maybe people who went through drug rehabilitation, or somebody who just went through like battered women's shelter, or women and children's services, something that can help them get back on their feet, learn some sustainable I don't know, maybe like goals and stuff.
Connect with nature.
Yeah, and help people to produce their own food. And I would like to do that. So that's kind of my long-term goal.
So that's a
Something you
big
can
part
do.
of the goal.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I was
go ahead.
gonna say something you can do for your wife. There's lots of people who like homestead and have their videos about it. And like I started a long time ago, many years ago, I started watching Justin Rhodes videos, and he was like showing you how he homesteads, and his kids were like in the videos, and he's like, hey, good. His like kid was doing stuff. And this was before we had kids and stuff, and it felt really right. I felt like the kids in the video and like they're homesteading, and it felt like something I really wanted to do. And it was the beginning of trying to want to do this before we moved out on the other farm we worked on. And so like there's a YouTube channel called like Homesteady, and I get a lot of information on cows and stuff from them. But these people, they make really good videos that show you like how good the life is, sort of, and how it's not necessarily what you may think like a farmer is, or living in the country is. It might like show you that it's like people can make it what they want, and like they don't have to be like out in the sun all day or whatever. There's different people who have like homesteading channels, and it sort of brings it all together on like a sort of family lifestyle and stuff. And it
She loves horses, so that's one thing that we want to incorporate too.
Yeah.
So definitely
Cool.
something that helps people. And large scale, something like right now, we're looking to sell our house and then look at, you know, something between 20 and 100 acres, somewhere in like Broken Arrow, Quita area. So, to do that. So.
And you have some financing available to you through through being in the military, right?
Up to $400,000, yeah.
So that's a really awesome advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
Earned, I'm sure.
What other challenges would you see having? Let's say you could get that piece of land. Like, I hear two things. You want to farm, so there's maybe some challenges with that. How do you, and then also maybe how do you see yourself integrating that other component of getting to work with the people you mentioned?
Just doing stuff like this, integrating classes, meeting people, sourcing, networking, stuff like that. Because it's going to take more than just me, for sure.
Like on your farm, like maybe bringing in programming and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Programs, well, it's basically what you're doing, man.
At John 3:16?
Well, and what you do here with this class.
Oh, okay, yeah.
People, just teaching people how to grow, how to
Totally
be sustainable.
A good way to meet people in your community is to do a farmer's market. Like, even if you didn't have a farm, if you had your outreach organization, that could be your setup, and you could be, and there are thousands of people who walk by you, but every weekend maybe just like a few would come up and talk to you about like, what you're doing, and you can find interested people if you're trying to do something like that. It's a good way of network with people, and you don't even have to bring stuff to sell, especially if you talk to the market managers and explain what you're doing. They would be happy to have just something new and different in the market, I'm sure, and that would just be a way of reaching potential people who you're trying to get to.
I met so many people at the horticulture convention.
Yeah, those things, yeah.
This past year.
Mhm.
that were
The
all
industry
doing-
show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were all, I met so many that were doing.
Because all you gotta do is meet the right person. One, like for me, it's just like a couple businesses. So it's like I've talked to dozens and dozens of people. There are really 2 or 3 are the right ones for me right now, and it's worth it. Yeah. So.
Well, and so also like, I've always been into mycology, and mushrooms is something that I definitely want to incorporate into that just as equally as the vegetables, but also like just with the edible, medicinal, but also with the conservation side of it, with waste management and so forth. That's something that I really want to further my education on is mycology. I would like to do mushrooms large scale too. The other place that I know of is like J&M, I believe that's the name of the farm where I am.
Yeah, and they use.
Yeah.
Tyson Poultry Litter
Yeah.
as their substrate.
What's that?
J&M Mushroom Farm,
Substrate. That's not
Tyson
what I
Poultry
was
Litter.
doing,
I've seen some videos of people who run mushroom farms, and I can't think of any of it off the top of my head. But, I was gonna do some this year. I was gonna grow pink oysters in my tunnels and hang them up in the black bags
There you go, yeah.
because the heat would make them flush. But after all the craziness, I just didn't do it because I'm like, running the numbers on mushrooms. They're not like super profitable because it takes too much. You have to have so much material to get a pound of mushrooms, and so when you scale, there's a huge amount of material, and it's like you can do it, but it's like it's tougher, and they're a little tougher to grow too. So,
Yep.
but it's like it's a niche, and you can fill. And there's so many other things besides just eating them. You can do it medicinally, all kinds of good stuff. So that's awesome. I think it's possible to make some kind of biodegradable plastic out of mycelium or mushroom or something. I saw that somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I don't really know, but I feel like that's something that could be done.
About that.
For sure.
Yeah, just
So, Saloni, what would your dream farm be? What would you grow? I think I already know the answer, but
So, it's actually interesting that you mentioned that. One of the things that was really eye-opening for me was I lived at the Davis shelter for like 6 or 8 months with my daughter a couple years ago. You weren't allowed to bring food in at all, so you could only eat there. And before that, my daughter had only eaten like, pretty much organic food. I tried to get healthier and stuff. So I noticed, at that point it was at Pine Peoria, and there's not a lot of good options for local healthy food there. And so I really wanted to, give back and get more involved with like community gardens and empowering people who were in my situation when I went to Davis. Like I was so scared and alone, and I didn't know what to do. And so that's one of the things that I feel really passionate about is empowering people to like grow their own food. I try to help anyone that I know, like with the limited knowledge I have, help people like learn and grow with me and share resources. But one of the things I am passionate about is like, herbal remedies and native plants. Mycology, I want to do like fermented vegetables, but one of the things I'm doing is I'm practicing growing like oyster mushrooms and shiitake mushrooms because I have an excess of bur oaks, like just wood everywhere. People like what we did, where you go and you help someone and like you inoculate the logs and then you get to take them home. So it's like that would be a cool option.
Yeah.
But basically, like I'm educating myself. I'm in an herbal mentorship right now with Dandelion from Return to Nature, and that's really awesome. So I'm focusing on education, and then a friend of mine, we were looking for land kind of together. She likes to grow more like botanicals, kind of like the flowers that you have. She loves flowers, which I don't know very much about ornamentals at all, so that's really a fun cross section. But yeah, so what I would want to do is focus more on growing my own herbs and botanicals, because that's something that it's a little harder to source those locally, and that's what you want to do. I source some things for like peace of mind, or people I know that grow things smaller, but like I want to focus on doing that, making more like salves and tinctures, being able to like intuitively understand the energies of the native plants, and being able to kind of form alternative local remedies to more of the popular traditional methods.
That's great.
Are you seeing this in like an urban setting, sort of, or like maybe outside?
Well,
or
we don't want to be. I don't want to be in an urban area if I can avoid it. But a lot of that depends on where I would end up getting land and how that happens. I'm trying to stay open to a lot of ideas right now, and just further my education and look out for things that I'm gonna need.
Yeah, because it cuts both ways. Like I live in the country stuff. 30 minutes from Tulsa is like nothing. But urban farms have advantages of being right in the middle of your customer base and being visible and all that kind of stuff too. So it plays into your marketing or whatever. So
right. That's one of the I thought about trying to get something kind of how you have, where it's like proximal.
It's hard to find. Yeah.
It is.
They're mostly foreclosed. Like we looked at foreclosed places forever.
Oh, yeah.
Piece of crap house and stuff. And this one is such a small house, and it was gonna go into foreclosure. And the seller was really desperate. She's been trying to sell it for too much and stuff. Yeah. And we just got it. We lived for a year. Yeah, that's cool. I like that idea. I like the local medicine, and like teaching people how to. Yeah, so those are sort of like smaller scale sort of things, like mushrooms and things, but things that are more manageable and things that are like educational. People come in and you can show them, and now you can do this useful thing.
Exactly. I have such a passion for that, because there's so many things people are able to do themselves and want to do themselves, and they just they want fellowship and they want to exchange energy and knowledge, and like knowing as many people as I did with my, at that time, much more limited knowledge in places when I lived at the shelter in different areas. Like I make salves and tinctures for like my neighbors and things like that, and I'd like to be able to do more. And so it is all going to be more smaller scale stuff, but
it seems like the pieces could add up to a lot. Like you could have your business and there'd be lots of different things.
And yeah, so that's kind of what it is, because I like to do so many different things. And
there's so many ways to like make money without actually growing food. You don't have to grow vegetables or raise meat. There's so many different things. Diego Footer had a really good video about that. He's a really good resource of information. Diego Footer on YouTube, and he had a video about like top jobs you could do that actually aren't agriculture, and like one of them was like making compost. One of them, there are other ones I forget.
Like value-added products too, right? You can just you can take the produce from other farmers and then make something value-added.
One of them was like starting growing seeds instead of just like farm, which is pretty complicated. It's an important thing. I've been telling that to other people. Like we need more seed farms.
Yeah.
Because like Johnny's Baker Creek, it's the only people I ever buy from, and they didn't sell for a month.
Right.
Or whatever. So yeah, there's like so many different ways to do stuff in the agriculture world without being a farmer necessarily, right?
Right, and I do want to be able to farm at least the bulk of our own food that we would be eating too, and then using that to do like how you were saying this salsa. That's one of our ideas. Is like I love to eat salsa. I love to make salsa, and so it's like that's something that I want to do for myself that I could easily scale up a little bit.
Yeah. And doing a couple extra steps to like value add your products goes a long way. Like my salad mix, I put in these like plastic clams. I make it just like the grocery store. I'll put like edible flowers in it and stuff, and just like go the extra mile, and it just really adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Does anyone else want to share?
Yes, I would like to share.
Awesome.
I things down here. You know, I at this stage in my life am not interested in making money, but I know that young people need to make a living, and I want to live with young people. So I mean, I want some young people and some older people. I would start my community with at least 5 or 6 people. Right now I have 5 lots on North 58th Street. They're not right next to each other, but there are so many opportunities that come up so often about buying houses, and I've had opportunities, but I haven't jumped on them because I don't have the people together yet, and I don't want to have that much more risk. But I'm just mowing the lawns right now. I want to build together a house just to get started, and then you know, maybe 2 or 3 of us could live there, and then start planting beds, you know, like Curtis Stone and Madden Humphrey, and James Spicer. We have 5 lots on a block. We have 2/3 or 3/4 of an acre. That's total acreage.
That's more than you have in production right now, Madden, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
The group might support the first people to live on the property. I need somebody who knows how to do the money end of things, because you know, I don't want to own any of it. I want to own just enough for my house, but I want the acreage to be in a community. And then you know, eventually I want to you know, after it gets started, you know, people are coming up there and having their babies, and more people want to live on the property, and we can have probably 2 houses per lot, small houses, you know, and then we could have a bigger house. But you know, what I want to do is I want to develop sustainable products, also the houses that people can buy into, and they're not just exorbitantly expensive like everything else is. Just like you were saying, you know, you don't have to have that much money to start, and so develop sustainable products which are cheap and the best practices, but you know, mainly cheap, so that people can get started. And then a big part of it is that we are going to get along, and we're going to make our decisions together. And that's what has been the problem so far with me, is the groups have gone off in different there's so many different directions you can go in, and the groups need to find a small focus so that we can get started.
Yes.
Hard to reach consensus.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Madden. Like, could you do this if you were? Do you really like being autonomous, or do you think you would be advantageous to collaborate with other farmers?
Yeah, I
or?
work well with people. At the same time, like I know what I know and I know what I don't know, and like, you know, I work well with people, but I like being like, if I did something like that out here, it wouldn't be like a what's the word I just said? Consensus. It wouldn't be like consensus based. It would be like Paul Wheaton does this thing on his land. He calls it his ant farm, and he's got a big tract of land, and he says that you can buy you can buy a 1 acre plot off of his land and do whatever permaculture thing you want on it and live there. But the catch is, like, it's his land. Like, he's the. I mean, you can talk to him and try to reach consensus. At the end of the day, it's like his land, and that's what it is. And it's just like whatever he says that works for him in his context or whatever. I was thinking you're describing like a little village you want to make, right?
It's not that way. I'm not the boss.
Right,
I don't want to be the boss.
But I like how you want to try to make this little village on your lot, and then like I think people could see if you can come up with like a cool like livelihood for everybody. People will see that, and maybe like your village will spread. Like people living more agrarian, living more like people.
It'll spread beyond me.
I think when people, and it's like you have to show people. People see it and feel it, and it's like people know what you're doing. You don't have to explain it to them or whatever. And so like I like your idea. It's hard to reach consensus among people.
I'm living in North Tulsa right now, and so I'm living around a bunch of people that I didn't grow up with, and making new friends, and you know, so that's part of it, is trying to make community with the people that are already there, and they're just people just like us, you know.
You might try talking to somebody like, I'm not sure exactly, like an attorney or somebody that would be able to tell you like, you own the lots, but other people like are renting them from you. You could come up with some kind of set of like rules, sort of like foundational rules, and still try to reach consensus with people, but have it structured like legally with how like if you had some place for someone to live already, they could come and like rent. You could offer like rent to own or something like that, where it's kind of like they have some autonomy to do what they want. At the end of the day, like if you're doing something you don't like, well, you own the property, and so there's like somebody who knows the legal stuff could probably write something up to like where everyone would be happy with it. Or someone would be like, okay, like I'm happy with that, you're happy with that. And so you wouldn't have to worry about getting stuck with someone taking advantage of you or something like that. Like you get stuck in a situation where there couldn't be a consensus reached. It could be like just trying to balance that off. I don't know who, like, what kind of person would do that.
Maybe at some point we could move out, we could like make it a community, but we could start out being rent to own or something like that.
Yeah, like everyone's kind of got their plot up there. You said you've got your lots or whatever, and it's kind of like, okay, well this is your little lot, and like you could do what you want on it, but there's these like guidelines. Like, you can't like do these things, obviously, but so it's kind of like keeps you comfortable, but then gives other people the freedom.
You know,
yeah, right. You gotta have organic standards and these things, and it's like and not following them is terms for eviction or whatever. And have it be really basic, where like everyone will read it and be like, yeah, that's great, I can do that, easy, you know, something like that. Like a grant writer or somebody, I don't know.
I think you said it right when you said attorney. That's
someone might be able to write that up, where it's like you can still read it and like it's not too complicated or whatever. Because like starting to get into, I took an international law class in college, and I dropped it like 2. I'm like, no way, I'm not doing this. Like I have to memorize all this stuff. It's just way too complicated. So yeah, some things are too complicated. But I like that though. I like the idea of people seeing it and being like wanting to grow it more and like build cob and do things more like whatever naturally.
Exactly. And there needs to be, and Nathan has already shown that there needs to be people that are building for the earth, you know, and not against the earth. And so the houses need to have things in them that, you know, that aren't toxic, you know, and I've already had a horrible thing happen. James came, it wasn't horrible, it was wonderful. That James came and looked at my my property, and he said, you know, you need to get some gutters, and you need to, you know, keep the water, because the water's coming from the Osage Prairie Trail. And then after I got my bed planned, he goes, well, you're probably going to have to have that soil tested, because it's probably, you know, the trains that went on the Osage Prairie Trail, they probably were carrying chat, and so you know, it's frustrating, but it's like you, it's like a learning process. And then I got the gutters purchased, and then I just realized I want this water for drinking, you know, for putting on my property. I don't want to have like this horrible toxic stuff on the, and so I've got a bunch of gutters in my garage now.
Okay.
I'm just not going to put them up until I can figure out a way to keep them from being toxic.
You're talking about the asphalt shingles, right?
No, oh yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're talking about the gutters and the glue you have to
The
see.
gutters themselves and the glue that you have to put on that children can't inhale or something, you know, all these warnings on it.
Screw them in and you silicone.
Sorry?
Like screw them on and you silicone.
Really?
It'd be like aquarium glue or whatever. That's like non-toxic.
Really?
There might be some ways around.
See, I've been doing
Or you hire a seamless guttering company where there are no seams.
Well, yeah, you said hire somebody, but I have a guy at my sister's.
Everybody's pumped up about it. We all want to help, and I'm seeing that happen pretty soon. Just one person doing all the work.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
My idea is I can get a house and put the community garden there, and then whoever works that community garden can live in the house, and that would be, you have somebody working it all the time. And
Oh, interesting.
just that way, when people see it, they'll eventually say, this is our garden. And a like what James was doing on the irrigation that we did. Maybe we could teach some young kids that, and then they can incorporate that into their own garden. I mean, just to, you know, if they have to work out that mat and the slope and everything on their own garden, or maybe the neighborhood garden, they would be more interested, more empowered to get into that area. Because now that I've gotten over the part that I'm a hoarder and I'm just living for the apocalypse. People are listening now that we had this COVID-19, and I also see that with all the other stuff going on, we better change, because the very few people in power are trying to make it like we're hopeless. I mean, this is crazy the way people are now. If Walmart doesn't have anything, we're starving. We're not gonna make it. I mean, that is not a survivalist mindset. That is not, you know, that mindset that's gonna help you survive. And we have to change their way of thinking now, before they, like I say, before Bill Gates and everybody else try to strangle the food supply. So that's my goal, is a neighborhood garden. And I'm just learning here. I also I want to do some research on, like, the ancient gardens. They always had a cistern, and every place, if we have so much rain in the spring and in the fall, and it just goes down, you know. I like to incorporate something like that.
Yeah, like gravity fed.
Yeah.
Saving rainwater and using gravity to water.
Yeah. I mean, it's we need to incorporate that.
I think that's cool. I think that gives people a good incentive to be like, hey, you can live in this house and you run the garden. I think lots of people are looking for that kind of thing. Like, they want to work on a farm, or like people they can sense something's wrong, so they want to be more sustainable, or want to be like, do stuff like that, and like, just everyone's different ideas to incentivize people to do it is really cool. But I like your idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you have somebody, that's their incentive to keep that garden.
Especially if they're already experienced. Like, you could find like a couple or something
that
already has, like, they've worked on a farm. Like, you could get references like, yeah, we've worked on a couple farms, and so they know what they're doing. They'll come there and they won't need to ask questions. They'll, like, you know, do it up. There's one of those jobs I thought from before was being a farm sitter. You can just like go farm sit for people so the farmers can go on vacation. That could be like a job. And so, like, it just reminded me of that, just because, like, having somebody just come live in the house, and then if they're really good at gardening, and they could garden that back, and then just,
and then the community could come in and feed on it, and what they don't have, he could incorporate and grow what the people in that particular neighborhood want. And also, I mean, let's say Walmart or the gas goes astronomically high, if everybody has something in their neighborhood. I mean, I've also taken up classes in emergency management. I was gonna, you know, take that. But if something like a catastrophe happens, I mean, if a tornado comes through, you would be surprised how much stuff it blows out. Like, one of the first things you got to find out is you got to clean up before you send any supplies, or everything that's blown away would tear up the tires and everything else. So if everybody has something in their neighborhood, it's kind of, they can just go ahead and go with that. And I like the idea what you're saying about the canopies and everything, that if we do have anything like that, it'll kind of protect the plants. So I'm just learning all the way around.
Yeah, if you were to find like a person or a couple people that would want to live in that house and then maintain that, like, that big garden around the house, if they did a really good job, everyone in the neighborhood would see that. And they'd be walking by this huge garden and they would want to see what's that, and it's like, I think it's contagious.
Yes.
This kind of thing. Like, I started watching videos and going to other farms, and I was just like, yes, I want to do this. And so I worked on other farms, and I'm just like, I don't want to work here anymore because I don't like working for this guy. I want my own. I want to, like, do my own. And so it's just like finally in a position to do it.
Well, Kobe is farming on front lawns, and he I don't know if he mentioned this or not, but he's got his neighbors to give him the land on their front yards. So it's like all the yards in the neighborhood are connected. Not in all of them, but a lot of
them. Got 3 lots in a row there. But
That's
here's
cool.
the thing, it's like I don't really have control of that land. Like they moved back. And now they're back. I had my chickens in their backyard, and now they're in the back of my yard. I've got them grazing, and it's kind of a pain.
Yeah.
You know, and like I have this beautiful full sun garden, and it's the best plot I have. But there's some of this like, just kind of went for it. I'm not gonna invest any much money in it. You know, I'm gonna extract the value out of it and share food. But it's like, you know, you just ask in the spring and just grow as much food as you can with what you got. And you know that you helped me put that buckwheat in, and they're selling that property. So I'm like, well, glad I don't have a bunch of veggies in there, but I knew it was going to go on sale. So I'm going to harvest the buckwheat, use it as mulch, and move on. You know, so.
That was the front yard next door to you?
That's the backyard.
Okay.
We did. I grew that out in buckwheat, and the front yard is a big summer garden.
Cool.
That's really good. So that was a lesson. Someone was like, you can farm other people's land, and I've been kind of playing with that idea of like, well, do I have to own land? You know, now you miss out on being on land. You don't live on land, but it might be an intermediary step.
When you can work out like the financial metrics of like how much a bed will produce of so much crop, you can approach people and be like, hey, I'm probably going to make this much money this year farming, and how much, like, what percentage of it do you want? You want like 40% or whatever. You can, like, if you can come at them with like, oh, you've got this much space, I can grow this much money in a year or whatever, and then you can be like, would you want like 20% of that for your property taxes or something, and maybe work something out or something like that.
Yeah.
With them, I was like, I will mow your yard for you.
Yeah, it's good.
And you can use their water. Water can be expensive, so that could be a part of the deal.
Yeah, and I told him, I was like, I'll share what I've got, but I didn't really know.
Yeah.
You know, how much you're gonna
the
make.
first time, right?
Well, this day around now, too, people understand like, oh yeah, growing food locally is kind of important. Like last year, it's like a cottage industry or something. I was like, oh, it's important to have farms around now. You know, and the supply chain gets disrupted.
Well, and also Madden, you got to. I mean, I'll tell this personal, really, to you, but you got you sold some turnips, and she gave you a 10, and she said keep the change, and it was like $4 or something.
Yeah.
And you said it happens all the time.
People do that, yeah.
Just because
it's usually just like $1 or something.
They want to support you, you know.
Lisa, do you want to share anything?
I'm looking for a house right now that's going to be temporary. So, temporary as in like maybe a year or 2. So I can't really. I mean, I want an orchard, but I'm not going to put that much energy into something that's not going to be mine.
Yeah, putting down roots before you put down roots.
But I am growing probably 20 different tomato strands. And I was going to grow a lot more stuff. I just didn't get around to it. But I want to find my favorite strands of my favorite things that I want to grow. And I'm definitely learning as much as I can about growing cannabis because they're the most profitable plant from what I've seen.
What? 1,500 to $3,000 a pound.
It's really competitive, though.
It is very
competitive, but
I
there's
think
not very many good growers.
I think the
That's
demand
also
still outweighs
true.
the supply,
yeah,
though.
my boyfriend has an extraction company, so they go. I mean, they go through tons of different growers, and there's not very many good like niche
Consistency.
growers. Yeah, or whoever. Yes.
On that the growers part, from what I heard, it's hard to grow the right cannabis.
But, I mean,
Outdoors.
There are several different really good strains.
I mean, outdoors.
Outdoors.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, because you can't control the elements.
Yeah, so you're not going to be able to like do as much modification versus like indoor. You can like do like cold shock, try and like bring out colors. Like you can do so much more with that controlled. But with outdoor, you can do stuff like tinctures and like concentrates, and I mean,
there's and I'm
That's
sure
what
there
I'm
are
doing
strands.
now.
There's strands that do a little better outside than other strands.
That's true.
And I don't know that
You
much.
usually get a larger yield out of outdoor plants. Plus, they take longer. It's,
You get a larger yield.
I do like mostly landscape stuff. In my
You have a landscape business.
I do have landscape.
What's the name of your business?
Dirty Girl Gardening.
Yeah.
Dirty Girl Gardener. Yeah. And I love doing design and I love what I do and who I work for. But my hands, I am like starting to notice my age or that I've worked a little too hard. And so, I mean, like if I go in and trim marijuana, it's so easy. It's not hard on my body. So I'm kind of leaning more towards easier things.
I'm already thinking about that too. Like I'm doing all this work, and I'm thinking like next year I really need to pay people to do this work. Cause like I'm out there, and I'm like I can't do this like you're all by myself. It's like that's another thing that hadn't been mentioned is like thinking about what's easiest for you, especially long term. Yeah.
And even like weeding and pulling trees, that shouldn't be where they're supposed to be. It's hard. It's hard on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking more, and I don't know. I want to grow a variety of things and just pick my favorite things that I want to grow.
Like Matt and be like
And things that are the most profitable, and that's where I'll focus my energy. But I want to overall have enough food, for my family.
Would you do like it'd be like the tomato grower? You have all these kind of crazy times. You check out Wild Boar Farms. They have the best tomato varieties.
they?
He's a breeder in California.
Yeah.
I grow some of his. We have Wild Boar Farms. He's got a lot. He breeds new varieties every year, and like I grow Atomic Grape, and those are like really popular. People really like them. So
The grape one.
yeah, they're called Atomic Grape tomatoes.
Atomic grape.
But he's got so many different. They're really interesting and cool varieties, and he's like that's all he does is he grows tomato plants and tomatoes. He's like the tomato dude. He sells seeds and stuff. And it's like he's like mastered it. So.
Okay.
Great. So
Yeah,
what?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna finish the thought and say like in a Tulsa there's not very much saturation or competition where you could pick anything and be like I'm gonna grow the best tomatoes. No one's gonna grow better tomatoes than me.
Right.
And if you put your focus there, that's what you could do, and you don't have to like manage a big farm. You just grow the best tomatoes you possibly can, and they'll probably be some of the best around anywhere because there's not really competing with you. So like
I want to hit the house.
sometimes narrowing your focus and having less to do is like easier and better to do in some cases.
There's a hoop house. There's a hoop house right around the corner from my lots, and I don't think it's being used for the last 2 years. I don't think
You can
it's
find
being
used things. I bought this greenhouse used from one of our neighbors that Katie's friends with, and they brought it over here. $100.
Cool.
What about our guest? What do you want?
Yeah, I was gonna. This is Jordan, by the way. He's shadowing with us today to see if maybe he wants to check out the course next year.
I'm so glad that you came.
So glad I came too.
What do you think, Jordan?
Gosh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me.
Well, you're doing some stuff, man. Don't be bashful. I went over to his place. He's doing some awesome stuff.
Trying to make an orchard, permaculture principle type thing, to initially feed my family and then hopefully expand and feed friends and family and stuff like that. We have some land in Kansas that in the very long term I would like to be a full-time farmer, but probably 10 years out of doing that. So yeah, how long have you been here?
This is our 4th year. The
Yeah.
3rd year farming, 2nd year actually really farming, I guess.
You've done a lot
Yeah.
in that short amount of time,
Yeah.
and that gives me a lot of hope because I feel so overwhelmed at times. So.
So is this 3/4 of an acre?